Sewakwé, I'm Greg Horn, and you're listening to Iorì wase's coverage of the 2021 Mohawk Council of Kahnawake elections. In this episode, we speak to the candidates running for the position of council chief. Each candidate was given 10 minutes, and all were asked the same basic questions. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Iorì wase's ongoing coverage of the 2021 Mohawk Council of Kahnawake election. And we're here with candidate Craig Delisle. Can you just introduce yourself for people who may not know who you are, who you are, who your family is?
My name is Craig Delisle. My dad is the late Elvin Tuffy Delisle. My mom is Carol Thomas. I'm divorced. I have 4 daughters and 2 beautiful grandchildren.
Okay, and why are you running for council?
Well, I'm kind of tired of sitting on my couch and complaining about things and not actually getting up to try to make change, And this actually goes back to my dad, who served in council from the mid-'80s right through 1990. And I have a little backstory. He passed away 2 years ago, and I was sitting in his hospital room and complaining about everything I didn't like about what MCK was doing. And he looked over to me and he said, if you're just going to sit in that chair and complain and not do anything, then you're part of the problem. So if you're not going to get out there and run and try to make change, you should just shut the hell up. Those are his exact words. And I can still hear those words in my head today. So that was a big part of me running, and because like I said, if I'm just going to sit on my couch and complain, then I'm part of the problem, right? So that's part of my thinking and getting me to actually run.
Okay, so come July 3rd, at the end of the day, if you're voted in, what are some of the things that you want to work on and hope to accomplish over the next 3 years?
Well, I'd like to work on some economic development. Jobs are needed here, and not next year or in 2 years. Jobs are needed now. And housing also the same situation. It's nice to plan for the future, but people need help today. And I feel that Martin LeBarn left a huge gap at that table when it came to actually meeting with people around our community and speaking to them. And I found he did a lot with all the housing, a lot of the initiatives were his. And I know those are big shoes to fill, but I'd like to give that a shot, and be that person for the community, because I'm hearing on the street, community members don't feel that some of the existing chiefs are approachable or are accessible. So this is something I would like to do also. And, I would like to work on something where we could help our community members and, more importantly, our children reconnect with Great Spirit and Mother Earth. And, we all know about this, and it's changed my life in the last 3 years. Gratitude. Man, I did my best to decolonize my mind the last 3 years because it wasn't real before, so I did a lot of work on myself spiritually and physically and mentally. And this is something I think everybody should do, I get up every morning and I burn tobacco and I say my words, I give my thanks. And man, it changed my life. And nothing but good things have happened since I made these changes in my life. So this is something I would like to try to study, I don't know how, or this is something we'd have to sit and talk about, but this is something I would like to work on.
Okay. And then, at election day, if there's people there that are, at the polls and they're wondering, okay, who should I vote for? And if you had the opportunity to talk to them and tell them why they should put an X or a check mark beside your name, what would you tell them?
Well, I'm here as a community member who has the same struggles as most of the people here, bills and this and that. And I'm just I'm here to represent them to the best of my ability. And, I only have a high school education. I don't have no degrees from college or university, but my intent is good and my mindset is good. And I've never been in a better place in my life. So, I mean, if they could see that, I would appreciate the votes, I have really good intentions.
Okay. And so what do you see as some of the big issues that are facing the community today and into the next, 2-3 years?
taxation. I've been reading up a lot about it, and I'm not sure where the council stands on this, but this is something I would like to look into more. Because I'm concerned for my children, and becoming a grandfather recently I've had 2 grandchildren in the last 9 months, so this is a real big concern for me. Are we heading down the road to eventually be taxed? But I don't know the answers to that, but I know what questions to ask. And this is something that really, really concerns me. Also, land-based gaming, this is a real big issue. Our community needs funds, and this is also something I would like to look into, and because it's a revenue generating monster, the possibilities are endless. So this is something I would look at. My knowledge about it isn't that great right now, but it's something I would like to look into for the future. And well, again, housing is a big problem. The crisis is something that's also something we would have to I'd like to look into.
And some of these issues, how would you address them, or how would you begin to get them addressed?
Well, with the housing, I mean, sit down with the people and talk with them. Actually, sit down with the people who are experiencing the crisis themselves. And listen to their stories and figure out a way how we could help them now, whether it be temporary housing. They do it all over, set up trailers. They do it for campuses of schools, let's set up some temporary stuff, even if it's not long term. I mean, we're sending people out of the community, not sending them, but they're having to go out of the community to find housing. Maybe we could set up some kind of temporary housing for them, in the short term, to give them time to find a home, And so this is just ideas that I've been throwing around myself, but we need that whole table to discuss, we need to brainstorm, and we need to have open minds and open hearts when we're talking about all these things, and keep our, especially the open mind, and discuss it with the people actually experiencing this.
Okay, and I mean, you talked about a couple other issues, taxation.
Yeah, well, the taxation, I'm sure everybody this is on everyone's mind. I've read a bunch of acts. I've been reading so many acts and laws and bills, and the amount of information I'm trying to retain is like, wow, it's incredible, but is it coming? And is council planning on taxing our own people? Because I've read it. The framework is there, First Nation Tax Act, and it outlines the steps a band council will take to tax their own people. And I want to know where council is on that. Have they already started the process? I don't know. This confidentiality agreement they sign, it keeps us from knowing these things. And that's another thing I would like to work on if elected, to maybe rewrite that paper, and make it less confidential. Like, people don't want to know who's on social assistance, or they don't want to know who's receiving help. They want to know where the big dollars are being spent. And I think the people should have a say in where our dollars are invested and what amounts are being invested. Like this hydro deal, for instance, I'm sure that didn't come free. I'm sure they had to invest some kind of money into that, but we should be able to know that, the details, and that comes back to confidentiality. And that's something I would like to work on.
Okay. We have a couple of minutes left, about a minute and a half left.
Okay.
Any closing thoughts, closing remarks you wanna talk about, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, well, I just want my community to move in the right direction. From when I was growing up, man, we were in the bush, we were in the creeks, we were playing all out. And I find we're losing that town feel, I mean, we got sidewalks, and now we have addresses. And I would like my children to experience the Kahnawake that I experienced growing up, and it seems it's slipping away from us. We're slowly but surely, in my opinion, just becoming another municipality. That's how I feel. That's my perspective. I'm not saying everybody feels like that, but that's how I feel about it. And I mean, in the society we live in, yes, we need to have money. We need to have, we need all these things. But I really feel we're losing the Kahnawake that I grew up in and I experienced and I love.
Okay, great. And that's just about all the time we have.
I just want to say thank you for having me, Greg. I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
All right. Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Iorì Wase's ongoing coverage of the 2021 Mohawk Council of Kahnawake elections. And today we're sitting here talking with MCK Chief and candidate Tonya Perron. Welcome, and just introduce yourself to people who may not know who you are.
Family-wise, you mean background?
Family background.
Yeah, sure. So good afternoon, everyone. Tonya Perron. I am currently sitting as an elected representative on the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake. It's my first term, so the end of my first term. I ran in 2018 for the first time. My parents are Roger Perron and Wanda Phillips. Many people know her as Lulu, and Lulu Phillips. I have 2 children, married to Thomas Lahash, and I also have 2 stepchildren. Aside from that, I'm not going to disclose my age or anything. I'll let everybody just guess. But yeah, so I'm here running again in this term, this election.
Okay, and this is a question that we're asking everybody. Why are you running?
Good question. Interested to hear what other candidates' responses were to that. So obviously, as I stated, I've already been in for 1 term. It's been quite the wild ride, quite a learning experience for me. I've enjoyed it tremendously, even though it's been very, very challenging. I've been told that this is probably one of the most challenging terms that some of the chiefs that I sit on with that have been there before have ever encountered. There's a lot that's been going on, as everybody in the community has seen. So I really feel like I've only scratched the surface. I haven't really had a chance to get that full experience, the full political experience and what it means, to represent the community, both internally and externally. So I haven't had much dealings with the outside political governments for various reasons again. So I would really like to have that opportunity to just get that experience, continue on with what I've been doing, the work in some of my files, maybe change some of them up to expand that knowledge and sort of the political elbow rubbing, if you want to call it that, elbowing. Yeah. So I think that overall, for me, it's been really satisfying. But like I said, I feel like there's still so much more that I haven't experienced and done. And so just looking for the opportunity to get that chance again.
Okay. And so on July 3rd, at the end of the day, if you're elected, what are some of the things that you want to accomplish over the next 3 years and some of the files you want to work on?
Oh boy. Yeah, that's always a big question. That's always a loaded question. And, everybody goes into this position, even myself when I started, with a lot of plans and hopes and dreams kind of a thing. And one thing you learn after in there for a while is that, it takes a long time to move things. But I do want to work on a couple of more specific, or I should say specific, but they're general. So one of the big things I've noticed over the term is relationships. So at the MCK, you have the Council of Chiefs, and then we have the organization, and we have the community. So it's kind of like it's circled out, so to speak. And I find that we really need to improve on those relationships. So with our organization as a whole, and more specifically with the community, we haven't had a lot of opportunity for dialogue with the community, engagement with the community. It's been virtual for a year, and then it was kind of non-existent for the first 6 months when we were in our orientation, when we first got on. So there's really only been maybe a year and a half where that opportunity was presenting itself to have some engagement and real quality discussions with the community. So I think that I would like to work on that as a as a council, as a table to be more engaged with the community and to have more, as I said, better relationships even with the organization, because I don't think it's a secret to anybody. There's always a lot of how could I say that, criticism, right, of the council table. Excuse me, whether it comes from the community or sometimes it's from organizations, sometimes it's from the organization, and a lot of it is constructive. And I think it needs to be worked on, but it has to be worked on as a group, as a whole, by the table, by the new executive director, which is also, something interesting that has changed. We're going to have a new Grand Chief. So all of these things to say that I would like some of the focus of my files to be more towards those aspects of the internal governance. As for the external, because I look at my role in those two ways. We have our internal matters that we deal with in the community, and then we have what we have to deal externally with, right? Protecting our jurisdiction and that. So along those lines, I really want to start, what's the word brainstorming with the table, with my colleagues, if I'm there, on different ways of dealing with the provincial, federal governments, just because we can see that, there's little to no movement in a lot of times, right, in files. And for the most part, it's kind of always the same old, we're doing the same things and sometimes not getting anywhere. There's got to be some different approach, particularly with the government that's in place now. So that's why I said some of the files I might want to change up a little bit so that I can have that opportunity to have more dealings with the external relations.
Okay. And, on election day, people are making their decision. If you had the opportunity to talk to somebody right now who may be undecided or whatever, and asked you, why should I vote for you? What would you tell them?
Well, hopefully a lot of what I just said, that would interest them to vote for me, to reelect me. But moreover, I think that when people go to the voting station on July 3rd, they have to consider a number of factors. So some of it is experience, but that's not all. So those the candidates that are running, the new ones that lack experience, doesn't mean that they're not, that they're not worthy of same consideration, because, as I said, it's a learning curve and I'm still learning as well. So I would hope that they would look at not only me, but all of the candidates more fully, right? Like in a wholesome way. So for myself, I think that I have a lot of the qualities, of a leader. For me, leaders have, integrity and respect for other people, and you listen to really hear and to understand, and not just listening to respond. You take into consideration all points of view and you weigh things before you make decisions. That's the kind of person that I am. At the table, I don't make decisions, in haste. I like to get all of the facts as much as possible, weigh what everybody says at the table. Sometimes it'll change my mind, and other times it won't, and that's all part of it. And so if someone were to ask me on July 3rd why, I would pretty much just tell them exactly what I just said now. This is how I deal with things, and I think that that's the type of people that you want at the table, because that's where I always think good governance, it starts there with people really listening and considering all points of view. And it doesn't always mean you make the right decision. There's always going to be people that don't agree with your decision, but that's fine, because another important, I think, characteristic that is required, and I'd say that I'm pretty confident to say I have it, is, sticking to your principles. When you believe in something and you really feel that it's the right way, even if not everybody necessarily feels that, because we're all there, coming from different backgrounds, you need to stick to that. And so I think that that's, the qualities that I bring to the council table. And I think that, it's just, if you want to vote for someone like that, then that's me.
Okay, great. We have about a minute left. Is there any final thoughts that you want to talk about or bring up?
No, I just want to say that, as you can see, it's not very comfortable talking about myself. I'm not the kind of person that likes to sell myself. I find it's, I almost feel like a car salesman, but so forgive me if I was a little bit, if I sounded a little bit nervous or off in that response. It's not natural. The only thing I'd like to say is I'm very excited for this upcoming election. As I said, new Grand Chief. We're definitely going to have some new people at the table. I always look forward to hearing new positions and that. So if I'm there, going to be happy to, I can work with anybody. So it's exciting. I'm excited about it all. And I'm really happy to see some of the new faces as candidates and some younger ones, because we see that a little bit of that movement in the community. We just got asked to, the youth are asking to hear from the chiefs as well. And so.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Iorì Wase's ongoing coverage of the 2021 Mohawk Council of Kahnawake elections. And today we're here with candidate Bart Goodleaf, who's running for a position of council chief. Bart, can you just, introduce yourself? Yeah, okay. and explain who you are for people who don't know.
Yeah, I kind of stumbled last night and just said, okay, I'm Bart Goodleaf. I'm 51 years old. My parents are Irvin and Eileen Goodleaf. I have 6 kids, 7 grandkids, and 1 on the way. Navy. My granddaughter's on the way. So, brief history. I grew up in Kahnawake. I was here during 1990. That's when I started doing ironwork, and that was the early parts of my life. Did ironwork till 9/11. Okay. I was there in 9/11. I was here in 1990. So, that space of my life, I did ironwork and supported my family through that.
Okay. So, and this is probably the question that the one question we ask everybody, and it might be the most important question. Why are you running for council?
Why am I running for council? Because I feel like my life experience is through ironwork, through playing minor sports, through some of my business, through some of the things, being a coach in the community, being really close to all the people, and mostly I could say probably just being a regular guy. Like you and I, or, we're friends. I'm friends with everyone that's on council. I'm friends with everyone that's in the community. I generally don't have any haters. I'm not a very outspoken kind of guy. I don't like bashing people. I've learned in my elder years now, I'm not so aggressive, and I like calm, clean. I'm trying to stay away from conflict. And I feel like everything in my life during my upbringing, everything that I heard, everything about MCK was always negative. It's always a bashing for them, in the community. And we're very political. Like if we go out just on a regular night or we get together with friends, political things always come up, obviously. And it's always a bashing on the MCK. So I feel like I can, with my experiences, I could probably be instrumental in achieving a calmer, more for the people, for the common guy, for the common person. Like I talk to a lot of people. I know I have a medium-sized business. I've been in sports, and I have a lot of friends, and I touched every aspect of probably every industry in Kahnawake, except for journalism. But I know everyone, and I know how everyone feels about, I think I know how everyone feels about every detail and everyone's opinion. And I feel like I'm not trying to state that I could make huge change, or I'm not going in there trying to bust up a party, or I don't want to claim that I'm going to change things overnight, but I'm sure that I'm going to try to bring the people's voice to the table. And that's basically what I think that I should stand on for the reason why I want to run for council.
Okay, so July 3rd, if you at the end of the day you're elected, what are some of the things that you hope to accomplish?
Everyone last night, they talked about all the projects and everything that they claim to do or want to do, housing, rehab centers. We all listened last night, and everyone like I said, I don't want to build Taj Mahal or I'm not claiming to bring 500 jobs to the community. I think, as I said in my introduction, it's at a seed level. We need to help the kids. It has to start economic development. It was brought to my attention that we have to help at a seed level. I mentioned my grandkids. I have 7 grandkids that are really tiny kids, and that's what I like to look forward to in helping them, helping education. One of the things that I'd like to bring to the community is one of the most important things is to find funding for education for the kids. There's programs in Kahnawake that are being developed. So that I think, I can't stand here and say that I'm going to help build an old age home or a condo or a casino, or I'm going to build a swimming pool for town. I would like to do it through a program that brings it back to the little kids, for my kids, for future generations. That's what I see needs to be brought to the community.
Okay, so July 3rd, next Saturday, July 3rd, people are going into the sports complex to vote. If you had the opportunity to talk to somebody who may be undecided and about who to vote for, and they got to talk to you and you could explain why they should vote for you, what would you have to say?
I would say that I would like your vote. I would like you to have confidence because you know who I am in the community. You know what I've stood for all my life. You know where I come from. Everybody knows my parents. Everybody knows my brother, my sister. So I come from a diverse background. That's what I could bring to the table. I'm not claiming to be better than anyone else. I don't superior knowledge. I don't have a magic ace in my pocket. My ace is who I am as a community member, being in touch with everyone, being able to speak with everybody, being on the same level as everyone, being in everyone's shoes, being in the problems of my life, coming and where I'm going. I'm not in this for the money or a paycheck. I'm in it to bring what I can bring to the community. And that's the message. People, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go out there and promise a casino or 500 jobs, or I'm going to build a big apartment complex. I think it's fair to say, like Greg, I could look at you right in the face and tell you that we have conversations, or me and all my friends have conversations, and we know the general sentiment of MCK and the energy that's we feel like is at the table there. It's divided. And I want to bring good energy to the table. I don't want to fight with anybody. I don't want to tell anybody they don't know what they're talking about. I want to generally work together with everybody at the table for the community. Like I said, I have nothing. I don't want to bring any bad energy to the table. That's why I think people should give me a chance to represent them in the community the best. I'll do my best every single day. I'll go to the community. I'm already with the people. I'm in the industries, and I think that I know what the community wants. And I have to admit that I have a lot to learn. I'm finding that out this week, last night, that I'm only scratching the surface of what I think I know about what happens at the MCK building. I heard wonderful things about the Institute, MCK, but it seems like the energy at the table doesn't reflect on the people that work there. So I just know that I can bring a lot to the table, and I have confidence that I could bring people's voice to the table. And I don't have any hidden agenda. I don't want to. I'm just doing it because I think it's the best for my kids, for the future generations. And if I have time, can I I don't want to put too many analogies, but I'd like to leave a legacy, not only for myself, but for this community. I want to say, if I was here in 1957 when the sewakwé went through, what would you have done for your kids back then? The same thing is happening today. What legacy am I going to leave? Am I just going to be another councillor that was in office? I don't want to change things, but I want to maybe be on the right path to change things for the younger generation. Next 2 terms, maybe we could change things so they can really let this community prosper. coming in the next decade or two, or I'll see what I can do when I get in there.
Okay, what do you think are some of the biggest issues that are facing the community today?
The church, what's going on with all the kids, obviously COVID. And I think the biggest issue is the church situation and all the kids that are the unmarked graves that are being found, and realizing everyone is realizing what's going on with past trauma. It's bringing out the hurt in the community, and it really touches really close to my heart that people are really hurt in my own family. Every day I look at it and I think about what the Indian Act has done to us, and it shaped the whole fabric of our whole community all these years. We have an industry, a tobacco industry, that has to be taken care of. Our community has to be taken care of financially. And I think the Indian Act brought out a lot of hurt, and it falls right into, even down to housing, membership, education. It's everywhere.
All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody, to Iorì's ongoing coverage of the 2021 Mohawk Council of Kahnawake election. And today I'm joined by MCK Council Chief Candidate Arnold Boyer. For those of you who may not know you, just introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, who's your family.
Okay, my name is Arnold Boyer. My parents are Ronald Boyer and Sheila Paul. I'm married to Anne-Marie Phillips. Been married almost close to 38 years now. I'll be 38 years in August. I have two daughters, Carla and Cara. Cara is married to to Merrick Ross, who is a Ojibwe from Saugeen First Nations in Manitoba.
Okay, so I think this is the biggest question we ask everybody. Why are you running for council?
I'm running for council because I see issues with housing. I see issues with accessibility, buildings and places in the town, and seniority land claim. I believe I have a strong, good mind and spirit that would guide me to make decisions at the table. I have a strong work ethic. I have no personal agenda. I will serve our community's current needs and the needs of our future generations.
Okay, so on July 3rd, at the end of the day, if you're one of the 11 elected people that are elected chiefs, what are some of the things that you want to see that you would like to accomplish in the next 3 years?
Well, in the next 3 years, this will be a new position, new job, new adventure. And when you start something new, there's always a learning curve. Depends on the person how long this learning curve is. But I would like to get the land claim going because it's a project that my late father-in-law, Stuart Phillips, dedicated many years of his life to. And I would like to see its resolution.
Okay, so on July 3rd, on Election Day, people are going to vote at the Kahnawake Sports Complex, and people may be undecided, who they want to support. If you had the opportunity to talk to somebody on why they should vote for you, what would you tell them?
I wouldn't tell them nothing. I would ask them what their concerns are, because as a chief, we're for the community, not for ourselves. We listen to the people of the community.
Okay, so what do you see as some of the biggest issues facing Kahnawake today?
Disrespect. Housing. People can't find a decent place to live. Young people starting out in life, they can't find a place in town. They have to find out a place outside the reserve, our community.
So, how would you tackle some of these issues?
Well, if there's a problem in the housing department, a scandal, I don't know the facts about it, so I don't want to make any claim. I mean, I don't want to point fingers at anybody or whatever, but there should be an ongoing process to see that this doesn't happen again. However, just because it happened doesn't mean there should be a stoppage in the housing program. Housing units could be built just because there's a break on top. The need is always there.
Okay, so housing is one of the issues. And you also just talked about disrespect. And how would you be able to address something like that? An issue of disrespect. As a council chief, how would you be able to handle that?
Well, I can't handle it myself. Everybody has to be respectful to each other, no matter what their beliefs are, spiritual, whatever. Everybody should be respectful to each other.
Okay, so as we're moving forward, there's a lot of issues that are in the community today. I think we've heard a lot about them. I think goes hand in hand with disrespect. But how would you, if you're elected, how would you work with the other councillors to build a table that's united and can work together to move things forward?
Well, at the council table, we all have our own ideals. We all have our own strong minds. But after discussions and debates, we should leave there with one common mind, one strong mind to lead the community, and set by example, unity within the council table. We should start top down.
Okay, you're talking about a couple things earlier. Issues of accessibility and things like that. What kind of accessibility issues are you referring to?
The accessibility with all the buildings in town, the requirements for respite for the children and young adults, a place for them to go to have respite, to remain in the community instead of being placed outside the community. We should have our own place for that. We should have more accessible buildings.
Okay, and I mean, when you're talking about accessible buildings, what are some of the things that you're referring to for people who might not be familiar?
Well, accessibility starts from the outside of the building, like with a proper size parking stall. Like we go to all the communities, buildings in town, the post office, band council, Dewa, service complex. And the size of the stall is too small to be accessible. Just because you put paint a picture of the international symbol of access is a pictogram of a person in a wheelchair. Just because that's on there, it doesn't mean it's fully accessible.
Okay. Before running, this is your first time running for council. What kind of background? Where did you work before?
Well, it'll be 39 years I've been working for the government of Canada. I started out with Indian Affairs. I did some work with Health Canada. I did some work with Transport Canada, and I'm presently employed by Public Works and Government Services, which is procurement services and government services. I don't remember the acronyms. They change, and our name changes every 6 months or so. So I work from there. And I'm currently an accessibility auditor in the National Capital area. I identify obstacles, barriers for people who are handicapped physically, audio, visually, and other handicaps.
Okay, so I guess through your work, you see some issues in the community that could be improved on.
Yes, like the splash park. you can't get there from the road. Well, although there's a sidewalk, but there's a gravel, steep incline there. It's pretty cumbersome for somebody in a wheelchair to get up there. And there's a sidewalk which leads nowhere. And the washroom is non-accessible. Anybody in a wheelchair cannot enter that washroom.
Okay. Any final thoughts? Anything that you wanna say to the community as people are going to make their decisions on July 3rd?
Like I said, I believe that I have a good, strong mind and spirit that would guide me to make decisions at the table. I have a strong work ethic. I have no personal agenda. I'm 58 years old. Excuse me. I will not make a career choice to be council chief. I am a well-respected person in this community, I believe. I'm a member of the Peacekeepers Ethics Committee and a past board member of the ABC.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
It's going to you all.
Okay, now I'll go.
Yo.
Welcome back, everybody, to Iorì's ongoing coverage of the 2021 Mohawk Council of Kahnawake election, and we're joined today by MCK Chief Mike Delisle, who is once again running for the chief position, council chief position. For those of our listeners who may not know who you are, could just give yourself an introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Greg, for having me. Mike Delisle, as Greg mentioned, Jr. My late dad was Mike Delisle Sr. My late mom was Grace Hemlock. And I'm married to Terry Delisle Horn. I have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, a 6th on the way. Very proud of. I've been on council for a long time. Former Grand Chief for 11 years, from 2004 to 2015. I was off for 3 years, having been defeated in the Grand Chief position at that election. Previously served on council for 3 2-year terms from 1998 to 2004, and back again last term in 2018 for the final week of this term, culminating leading up to July 3rd. Looking forward to continuing to serve my community.
Okay, so we asked this question to everybody. Why are you running for council?
A lot of unfinished business. I, again, took a 3-year hiatus based on community's decision from the vote of 2015. Private sector in different areas for different opportunities, and relished that. Experience-wise, it's always good to, again, spread your wings. I was formerly in the banking industry, worked for the Bank of Montreal before I became a council member in 1998 for almost 6 years. I hadn't been in the private sector for quite a long time, having been on council from 98 to 2015. So new experience again. But my passion is here. Over the course of the last 3 years, taking on a little bit more administrative role as chair of Finance, Administration, and Operations Committee, in charge of those 3 parts of the operation as described. Taking on roles as the lead portfolio chief on labor, as well as that being part of the commissions and regulatory bodies within the community. So a lot more administrative function, I'll say, in terms of what my previous roles were as not only Grand Chief, but as a council member. Did dabble and involved with economic development, as there were 3 portfolio chiefs there. The lead on Iorì, but encompassed within a new portfolio mandate of rights and responsibilities, as well as Indigenous histories and so on. So different role for sure. Again, relishing that too. But given the fact that there's going to be a new Grand Chief, no and if or buts, me as the only living former at this point can bring that experience, hopefully some sage advice, depending on who is the new elected Grand Chief and if I'm reelected, to help in terms of those types of roles and positions as well. But I think more importantly, again,
I would want to become more involved in external government relations. I didn't shy away from that. There was actually some bartering done at the early part of this term, early in the term, to talk about portfolio assignments, bartering to take this one versus that one, and so on. So I ended up with some of the, again, no regrets, positions that I've just described, but would like to become more involved in the external. Canada is a ongoing threat, as always, and I think even more so under this Trudeau government, if I could say that, depending what happens, if there is, as we've heard, an impending possible election in the fall, federal election, and also the provincial government with Legault's CAQ now rearing its true colors, I'll say, and some of the other issues that involve Quebec with Kahnawake. I would like to take on a larger political responsibility for the following 3 years, including seniority. It's always been a passion of mine, having been at the negotiation table for 10 years, up until 2015. They've walked away, I'll say, and shied away from negotiation protocol. There hasn't been any true negotiation over the course of the last almost 6 years at this point, and we need to reinvigorate that table, ensure that they understand what Kahnawak's position is. And I think based on recent acts, they get a better handle and understanding of where we're coming from. So again, in a nutshell, just a lot of work still to do. Obviously, there are ongoing files in the community like the asbestos problem, like the housing crisis, so on and so forth. Just able to help and willing to, again, contribute to the betterment of our community.
Okay, so I think there's going to be a lot of people who are undecided about a lot of different things come election day. If you have the opportunity to stand outside the sports complex and maybe have a conversation with somebody who's not sure who to vote for, and they ask you why should I vote for you, what would you have to tell them?
I would say that I bring a wealth of experience, not only in politics, but also some financial acumen. Like I said earlier, I worked with the Bank of Montreal for almost 6 years, external to the community. I've dabbled in consulting and other private entities outside of the community as well. But more than anything else, I'm born and bred Kahnawake. I've lived here my whole life. I understand the community, having been on council for a multitude of years, having served as the previous Grand Chief for 11 years prior to the 6 culminating now. That wealth of experience, I think, can be utilized not only with a new Grand Chief, but a very, I'll say, young table. If we look at the current table now, there are 5 brand new members in terms of only having 1 term under their belt. And I would even throw my friend and colleague, Chief Lindsay LeBourne, as the 6th, because he had been away from the table for 14 years. So that's a lifetime and an eternity in politics, whether it's Kahnawake internally, externally, and anywhere else. So that being said, with Chief Clinton Phillips not running, several current members running for the position of Grand Chief, so 2 obviously will not be returning. 1 will be as Grand Chief, and an open seat because we've been operating as 11 with the passing of former Grand Chief Joseph Taquito Norton back in August of last year. There will be minimally 3, if not 4, maybe more brand new people at the table. So that's a very, I won't call it inexperienced, young and new council table. So it's a balance in terms of how this will move forward, and not as a criticism for anybody who either lacks the experience, but there needs to be that balance in terms of people who have the experience, people who have been around the block, so to speak, a few times and can bring different perspectives in terms of what political strategies would be, whether they be provincially. And it's coincidental, I guess, at this point that the CAQ has appointed and crossing party lines with former cabinet minister Jeff Kelly, who I consider a friend and colleague as well, out of retirement to come in as the new provincial negotiator for Kahnawake, not only on Mersey Bridge, but on everything else between Quebec and Kahnawake. So that's a strategy that needs to be discussed at the table, regardless of whether he's my friend or what I consider him. He'll have marching orders from the Premier's office and the cabinet in terms of what they want from and with Kahnawake. So there's lots at play here. Like I said, Canada is really pushing back hard, and we need people with the type of experience necessary to ensure that they don't get their way. And it's not about being strong-armed. It's not about trying to pull the wool over Kahnawakes' eyes. Whether I'm there or not, I don't believe that would ever happen. But at least to bring that experienced perspective to the table, and like what I said, a very possible new table in terms of what will happen after July 3rd.
Okay, so if you're elected on July 3rd, what are some of the things that you want to accomplish at the table over the next 3 years?
I think a better sense of teamwork. It's been a struggle, I'll be quite honest, for the past 3 years. Joe and I had what I believed was a good working relationship from 1998 until his departure in 2004. That changed somewhat, obviously, him being elected as Grand Chief in 2015. Congratulatory remarks to him at that point. But back at the table, it was a different dynamic. Changing of roles, and I came in saying, I want to contribute, I want to help. I'm not here to antagonize or pick fights or what have you. It was a struggle for quite some time. And in the last year or so, again, I mean, there's always party lines at the table. There's always disagreements. We're not looking, I don't think Kahnawake is looking for yes or no men or women to sit around the table and all nod their head in agreement or wave their head back and forth to say no unanimously. But it became antagonistic at some points. And obviously that's not to the benefit of the file and the benefit of the community in general. So hopefully a better rapport at the table. Again, like I said, bringing some of that experience to try and help people to understand perspective internally and externally.
Okay, great. That's all the time we have. Thank you very much. And, we'll see you on July 3rd at the polls. Go for listening. Iorì would like to thank the Community Media Strategic Support Fund for supporting this initiative.